Hi, Buster. How you doing today, Boogie? Just chilling in the shade. Alright, guys. Little update number 129. Anyway, working on this thing. And this is what I'm doing right now. So I changed the master cylinder and the proportioning valve both. Changed both of those. I did not change the vacuum booster. I might not have to. So I'm going to try it like this. What do we got going on here? This is the old burnt one. That's the master cylinder there. It's all burnt. It was in the fire. And there's the proportioning valve there. And so that's the old stuff. I went and got another master and proportioning valve. They're out of an 86, and they're on the car. They're used parts from an old used car. And see how dirty that is? Just for a little comparison here. You see how dirty that is? That's the only one I could find. I did find another one, master cylinder, but it had the wrong fittings. Fittings were old SAE fittings, and mine's got the metric fittings. So anyway, this is off the 86. This is off the one that I used, the only good one I could find with the right fittings. And it was so filthy that I was like, no way, that's not gonna be pumped through my system. So I popped the reservoir off. A lot of people don't. Well, I don't know if you know that or not, but the reservoir comes off. See those rubbers on the bottom, or there's one rubber on the bottom anyway. So yeah, the reservoir comes off. And I put the rubbers back in here. That's the one from the 86 parts car. Same as that proportion valve. It's from the 86 parts car also. But it was filthy. The reservoir was filthy. So I popped it off. I actually used the shop vac and vacuumed anything out of here because the reservoir had like scale in it and metallic flakes and really dirty stuff going on in there. So I vacuumed those out, and I found this from an 84 Trans Am, and it wasn't really clean, but I wiped it out, and it cleaned up really easy. So it's not like perfectly clean, but it's a lot better than what I just showed you. It's a lot better than that. So now this should just pop, like you have to push it down in, and once it's pushed in, it just seals with those rubbers. Pretty simple. And I went yesterday and got some of this clutch stuff from a guy. It was about not quite 2 hours away. I had to drive almost 2 hours to get to his place and to get the parts. I don't know if I can pick it up here or not. The clutch, where is it? Where am I here? Anyway, I had to take the steering shaft off. See this? And I got the shirt hanging over here because of the brake fluid. So there's your steering box, and the steering shaft goes right there. So I took that off. It was melted. It was burnt anyway. And had to take the steering shaft off to get the clutch master cylinder in. And I did that from underneath. Now I don't know if you can see any of it from here or not, but this reservoir here has a hose, and the hose goes down there, and that's the master cylinder there for the clutch. And it's pretty much under the brakes because that's the brakes. So I went and got the clutch parts yesterday, the master cylinder, the slave cylinder, and the line, and I put them in from underneath. So I went under the car. I didn't have to separate the parts, like the master cylinder and the slave cylinder for the clutch and the line, because it's a stiff line. It's not a flexible line, so I kept it all together. I didn't even bleed it. I kept it all together and kept the fluid in the system, brought it home, and I put it all together from underneath. And it's not easy. That's why I had to take the steering shaft out. But once I took the steering shaft out, I had the right angle and the line, and I just put it through, bolted it back in. So there's the old steering shaft, that burnt one, and here's one that I got from a parts car from the '84 Trans Am. And it was already unbolted because I had removed the steering column from that parts car a long time ago. So that was pretty much already out. And it should be the same length as that one. But they're collapsible. Like, they have a joint here that collapses, so you can you can take the shaft out. You have to collapse it to get it out. And if you get in an accident, it's supposed to collapse also. So anyway, they might look like different lengths, but it should be the right one. This here, this is the slave cylinder for the clutch. And the plastic line, it's a hard plastic line. It's not supposed to be flexible. It's just broken here. It's a really stiff line. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's a hard plastic line. There's a roll pin here. It's a bitch to take them apart, and it's a bitch to put them back together. So I just keep it all together. That's the slave, and it gets run by the master. I do have the old master here somewhere, but I've got a feeling it's in the shop right now, or it's not here. But the master was worse than this, because the line was melted like right off the back of the master. So it was all melted right here, because, like, let's say this part comes through the firewall. The master is very similar to this, but there's a giver and a receiver. This is the receiver, the slave, and the master is the one that pushes the hydraulic fluid. And yeah, they were toast. The line was toast. Thanks to my buddy Greg for the parts, because it's hard to find those 5-speed parts. And I actually took the parts off of a V6 car. He had a V6 there with 5-speed. So I got all the hydraulic parts off the V6 car. But it's all the same. It's the same line. It's the same master cylinder. None of it bolts to the motor. Only one part bolts to the transmission, and it's like a universal. It's like a universal slave cylinder. So, and then yeah. So basically, when I bought this car, it had a burnt wiring harness. It had a burnt. Well, the headlight harness goes up front. It was burnt, and the engine harness. They were both burnt. The brakes, the fluid reservoir was all melted, and it was dry and cooked, and the clutch, everything here was all cooked. The clutch reservoir, the line, the master cylinder for the clutch, and the slave for the clutch, they were all melted. Power window, or the wiper motor, it was all melted. And now I'm at the point now where I've got the wiring harness in, and I've tested it with the key inside the car, and the car starts right up with the key. I don't have a battery in it right now because I was doing the headlight wiring, and the battery that I had in here, I had to boost it all the time just for test purposes, but it was not a very good battery anyway. So I'm at the point now where the headlight harness is in. I had to take the headlights out. I don't know if you can tell or not, but they're gone. I had to take them out to fit this harness through here, because these bulky connectors, I had to feed it through there, and there's a headlight motor here. They're hideaway headlights like a Corvette. So I had to take all that out of the way to get the bulky connectors through. And I'm at the point now where the wiring harness is in for the engine, for the headlights, I've got it running. The clutch, I did the clutch yesterday and today. I got that working. I put the camera underneath the car and I pushed the clutch pedal and I watched the slave move, and it let me shift gears in the tranny, and so the clutch is working. Now I'm just doing the brakes. Once I have the engine, clutch, and brakes, I might be able to take it for a test drive and see how the drive line is, like the tranny and the rear end, see how they work. Hopefully they're in good condition. I don't know. The hood is not really rusty, but it's all burnt. And I think I have one. I think I have a red hood. I think I have one here already, and it's a formula hood. It has a cowl induction on the one side, like the, what is that? The Knight Rider. Do you know the Knight Rider hood? How it had hood scoop on one side. I've got one of those hoods out back. So if I need to change the hood, I might put that one on. I got this washer bottle here. It's not hooked up yet, and the motor's no good. The motor needs to be changed. But that was another part that was melted. The other one over there is still half melted, but zero fucks about that right now. Yeah, I'm not really too concerned about that right now. And then I need to go back and double check this here, which I